Every year during the month of June, members of the LGBTQIA2+ community and their allies celebrate Pride, a commemoration that began in 1970 following the Stonewall Uprising of 1969. Until then, members of the community had faced widespread legal and social discrimination and harassment. This commemoration brings visibility, healing, and hope to an important group of people who have been marginalized for so long. Unfortunately, this intentional inclusion of marginalized peoples can bring out the worst in some members of the Christian Church. Throughout history, there have been people who have manipulated the Bible to support their own prejudice and acts of hate. This has been directed at not just members of the LGBTQIA2+ community, but people of color, women, and others. This use of the Bible to support hatred and violence is completely contrary to the steadfast love of God and the grace of Jesus Christ. While the church at its best shares love and inclusion, the intentional hatred by some members of the church directed at our LGBTQIA2+ siblings calls for an even more intentional celebration of pride and love, respect, and dignity it gives to all people, especially the LGBTQIA2+ community. As we work toward becoming a more inclusive church, we are intentional about educating ourselves and learning from all groups in the margins, living with compassion and understanding with all people, and celebrating diversity and love. We bring you Belonging for the Queer Community, a reflection of the love of Christ for the church, a project of the Grace Inclusion team.
Hi, I'm Livia Gilliard. I'm a bisexual trans woman, 26 years old. When I decided to transition, it was because I wanted to actually live. I didn't want to just kind of have this like depressed, joyless existence that I was kind of leading at the time. I didn't really like looking at myself in the mirror, but after transitioning, that definitely changed. A lot of my depression, anxiety went down because I felt more in line with who I truly was mentally.
The Trevor Project, the leading suicide prevention and crisis intervention nonprofit organization for LGBTQIA2+ young people, noted that the most recent U.S. national survey on the mental health of these young people found that they are at higher risk for suicide, not because of who they are, but because of the neglect, lack of support, discrimination, and mistreatment they experience. Likewise, they report higher rates of substance abuse compared to their cisgender and heterosexual peers for the same reasons. Further, members of the LGBTQIA2+ community have much to be concerned about regarding government legislation. While we must work hard to defeat the hundreds of bills that threaten the individual freedoms of the community, we must also lobby for others that are necessary to ensure their fair treatment. What cisgender individuals freely experience, the right to marry whomever they love, the right to safely use public restrooms, the right to be treated fairly in the workplace, etc. Members of the LGBTQIA2+ community must work tremendously hard to earn.
People treated me very differently when I transitioned. A lot of the people that I had close to me as friends either ghosted me or started to become cruel and just rude to me. Generally, people see me as a visible target for bigotry and vile words. They'd rather speak out against something they don't understand than seek to understand someone else that works or looks different. Before I transitioned, I was always neurodivergent, so I understood that there was, of course, inherent bigotry, but it's much more plain when they know that there's something different about you just by looking at you.
One of the biggest things is that as much as we want to support Liv and support her lifestyle and the change that she's been through, we certainly see the positive side of that in how confident and happier, how much happier she is. But there's also the aspect then that we are terrified for her and the challenges that she will face. And
unless things change. And,
Yes.
and it really needs to change drastically. There is still so much bad things going on, but thank God we have a lot of people out there lobbying and fighting for the cause.
The ELCA is a church that values and encourages diverse voices and lively dialogue. It's all about inclusive belonging and welcoming everyone, including the members of the LGBTQIA2+ community. There are so many people who have been hurt by their experiences with the church and have turned away from the church, and even God as a result. The ELCA is continually working toward reconciliation and to share our fundamental belief that God's love and grace are limitless and for everyone.
Oh, may our hearts and minds be open. Fling the church doors open wide. May there be room enough for everyone inside. For in God there is a welcome. In God we all belong. May that welcome be our song.
The best thing you can do to help people, especially in the trans and queer community, would be to actually stand up when you hear bigoted talk. Hate speech isn't just words or opinions as much as it is very clear violence upon minority groups. And if you can stand up to hate speech and bigotry by protesting, by refusing to fall for that scapegoat mentality, and by challenging the hateful ideas and violent ideology around you, that's the best you can do. On an individual level, we can't accept how society has turned out.
The most important things we can do to help and support members of the LGBTQIA2+ community are to be kind, compassionate, and respectful, and to educate ourselves and others on the issues members of the LGBTQIA2+ community are facing. For more information, please scan the QR code on the screen.
At Grace Lutheran Church, we really believe in God's grace. We do our very best to live with steadfast love, inclusive belonging, and living hope. We know that it is not enough to simply say all are welcome. We have to actually live this welcome with one another. This means listening to and learning from one another's experiences. This means changing some of our long-held practices so that everyone doesn't just know that they are loved by God, but truly feels that love in their hearts. Jesus' ministry was marked by his intentional love for those who had been hurt, those who found themselves on the margins of society, those who were the most vulnerable. He loved everyone, and he welcomed everyone without exception. As followers of Jesus, it is our greatest calling to share and live this inclusive love with all peoples. So, my siblings, this Pride Month, it is my prayer that you don't just know you are loved by God, but you truly feel in your hearts that God loves you.
For in God there is a welcome. In God we all belong. May that welcome be our song. May that welcome